Computer.
Got it.
Beautiful. I just want to make sure my frame is good. And then I'm ready to go as well. Okay. Yoink. And we are live. Are you recording as well?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the back. Got to get the intro right if we're gonna do this. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the BackTracks podcast. Today, I am here with Mr. Joey Consagra. Joey is a 7-figure Amazon FBA seller. He actually just recently had a baby, and he actually grew up in a town just outside of the town where The Office, the TV show, was filmed. So really great guy. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Joey over in the past 6 months or so. And one of the strongest moral and character fabrics I've met in a man in this entrepreneur space. And so just really excited to dive into that and talk about character and personal development. Joey, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Dude, thanks so much for having me, man. I'm really excited for the conversation.
Yes, as am I. Joey, before we kind of dive into your backtracks, I'd love to hear a little bit more about currently where you at, what are you working on, what's life in the life of Joey right now?
Yeah. So currently I'm building a new business as far as like actually helping other people to start, run and grow their own Amazon businesses. So, it was the decision I made. Instead, I scaled my business to a 7-figure place. And, once you kind of have all that space to think about like what's next, I just kept going back to like where I was and stuck at a job that I hated. And so now I really am focused on helping people to achieve freedom, time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom through an Amazon business. And so that's what I've been working on lately.
That is so badass, man. Yeah, I cannot wait to share your story. You have like such a dope story, man. And congratulations on the new business as well. I know the last time we talked about your FBA mentorship that you're currently doing, you had 100% client success rate. Just wanted to check in on that. How are your students doing? How's everybody in the program?
Yeah, man, everybody's doing great. And that was probably the greatest statistic that I'm most proud of, is that everybody that has launched a product up to this point has a 6-figure Amazon business. So I'm super excited about that. And we have a few new students now, about 3 or 4 new students that just made their first order. And so they're getting ready to sell their first product on Amazon. And so hopefully we see some amazing results from them. I know that they're going to do fantastic. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the sales numbers roll in. So.
Dude, that is absolutely next level. I don't know how many people in this consulting and mentorship world can tout the type of results that you do. So just massive congratulations. I think if any single metric could speak into the volume of someone's character, it's client success. So
yeah, I appreciate it.
Huge.
That's really what I'm focused on with this, is like, how can I get the most results driven like Amazon program in the world? Like that's all I
Yes.
care about. That's all I'm focused on. And I just want people to know when they hear my name or they hear my course's name or anything like that, they think like, wow, this thing works. Like this guy has got your back. Like I keep coming back to that. Like if somebody decides to invest into a mentor, I just want them to know like he's got you. He's got your back.
Yeah. Joey's super legit. No, that is absolutely awesome. Joey, I'm super curious, like, what's the why behind this? Outside of obviously you've already achieved financial freedom for yourself, time freedom, location freedom for you and your family. So why not just sit on a beach in Mexico and drink Mai Tais all day?
Yeah. Dude, it's funny because I get that question a lot. And I feel like I understand like why someone would say that. And it's good and bad, because I feel like in the world we live in now, like when you do something good for somebody else, people are like, why would you do that? And I feel
Yeah.
like I'm so, you know what I mean? I wish that wasn't the case, but the big thing for me is that, like basically last year, I didn't work. You grow an Amazon business. It's very passive. Like once you get it to a certain point and you have everything systematized, then Amazon really takes care of it. And so I did take like that whole year to just kind of live my life. And what I found that was super cool is that like before that, the thoughts that would enter my head are always like, how do I get out of my job? How do I pay my bills? What am I going to do next? Like, how much money's in my bank account? Like, there's always things that fill up your brain and all of these thoughts. And
Yes.
once I like solved all those problems and I didn't have to worry about that anymore, when I just like sat in space, your brain, like you don't like lose all of your thoughts. Instead, you get like really good thoughts that start coming in. Cause then it's like, well, what do I want to do with my life?
Mm,
What impact do I want to have? Like, what's my purpose here on earth? What do I want to create? And so those are much different questions. And when you ask different questions, you get way different answers. You know, I learned that at Tony
yeah,
Robbins, like when I went. And so I just kept going back to like when I was sitting at my 9 to 5, hating my life, you know, head in my hands, like every day, not knowing what I was going to do and that I was stuck. And I know that there's so many people, right? I always call it the Joey. Like I know that there's more Joeys out there that are sitting
yeah.
at their desk hating their life and they just need information. They just need someone to help them, maybe grab them by the hand and be like, this is how you do it. Because that's what I had.
Mm,
If it wasn't for my mentor, his name is Tim. If it wasn't for my mentor doing that with me, I'm not sure where I would be today, you know? And so now I want to be one of the guys that reaches back, grabs somebody by the hand and is like, listen, if you're looking for help, this is how to do it, right? Sometimes you just need that little bit of hand holding or just somebody to show you the path so that you could break out of there. So that's where my mind kept going. And I'm like, I've
love
also had
that so much.
experiences with, yeah, with other courses and stuff. And, you know,
Yeah.
I was up and down with them, you know, and really it's one of the things that I wanted to do to like make this space better, you know,
Yes.
and just improve upon that to help people out. So that's where my mind kept going. And that's why I'm like, all right, this is the next thing. Like I just kept feeling like the spotlight was on me. Like, sure, I could scale my
Mm,
Amazon business to 10 million. And it's like me. But I don't care about that anymore. You know, like you could raise your number in your bank account, or you can have somebody be like, wow, I met Joey and I quit my job. Like I
yes.
was able to buy that house I wanted. I was able to go on that vacation with my wife that I never thought I was going to go on. To me, that
Mm.
is way more important, you know? So that's why I like made the choice to do it.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, it's totally next level. And there is a reality, you know, we like to talk about like, oh, it's not about the money. And there is a reality of like it is good money and it's a scalable opportunity and it's a great business model to help other people. It's one of those things where it's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like I don't want to I know you're a businessman and I'm a businessman. And at the end of the day, it's like it's not like that's not the first degree of importance. It's like that's why we talk
Exactly.
about client success. It's like,
Exactly. And it's the skill
yeah,
stack. Like Alex
yes,
Hermosi talks about the skill stack. And so like
yes.
I got to a place where I learned Amazon. I got really great at it. Then I was able to scale my business. And then like the next step now is like, okay, you
Mhm.
have a system for how it works. And now you can teach other people. So like, that's the skill stack. Eventually I was going to get here anyways, you know? But
Yes.
that's how it should be, you know?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Something that you mentioned is like last year you had built this business. It's relatively passive at this point. You're kind of enjoying life. You're traveling. You and the wife are enjoying quality time together. And the business is just printing cash. And you're thinking,
Yeah.
well, maybe I want to actually help other people. But to even get to that place, you had a mentor that helped you kind of
Yeah.
take you down that proven pathway. I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, where do you, like, what situations would you recommend? It's like, okay, it's time to hire a coach or a mentor or ask for help versus when's the time to just let me be with myself and ask these very internal questions, right? Because they're almost oppositional, right? So one time
Yeah.
it's like, I'm going to raise my hand and be loud. And the other time is like, I'm just going to sit down and shut up.
Yeah. You know, I think in the beginning that is when it's the time to be quiet and be with yourself, like you said, because you have to make a decision that
Mm,
you're going to pursue or go after whatever you're looking to go after that requires a mentor, right? Because if you're like, you go and get a mentor first, like, but you didn't make the decision that I'm going to pursue this and you didn't really like say, I'm going to figure this out. That's where I got with Amazon. There's like thousands of opportunities. You could do affiliate marketing, you could do drop shipping, you could do YouTube automation, you can start a podcast. There's so many ways to make money and they all work. But I just decided that I am going to pursue Amazon until it works. Like that's the
yes.
one. And so I feel like in the beginning, kind of sitting with yourself, that's when you should, because you have to, as an entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur, somebody that's looking to make more money, you have to make the decision like, I'm going to go after this thing and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it work. Because without that, it's probably not going to work, right? You're not going to be able to put in the time required, the discipline, do the work
Mm.
required, do the learning. There's going to be good days and bad days, and it's going to be hard to get through the bad days. And so I think that that's first. And then once you know,
Yes.
like I'm going after Amazon, that's when I'm like, okay. And Tony
Mm.
Robbins and Dean Graziosi, everybody talks about role modeling, you know, finding mentors. You don't reinvent the wheel. Somebody's
Yes.
already done it and they've done it successfully. So just find somebody who's done it, do what they've done, and you just get there way, way faster, right? Follow the proven path. And so that's, I think that that comes second, but being with yourself
Mm.
first. And the biggest thing I think is just making that decision, you know, super important.
You know, it's funny that you bring this up. One of my mentors, Dan Martell, actually told me today, he's like, you don't make the right choice, you make the choice and then you make it right. And so it's like,
Yes.
first you got to make the decision. It's like, you know what? God is telling me to go in this direction, or I believe I need to go in this direction. And okay, I've decided to set out on this path. Who can be the light guiding my way? Whose clues
Yeah.
am I following? So
Yes.
I
I
think
love
you're
that, man.
making exactly the right process there. Um, Joey, do you mind sharing a little bit of what was the catalyst to get you into Amazon FBA? Like, what was the moment that made you go, wait a second, like I am not continuing to do what I'm doing right now?
Yeah. Oh, dude, absolutely. So I feel like, you know, that everybody talks about like diamonds are made from the pressure, right? And so that's I hit a rock bottom moment in my life, you know, financially, emotionally, personally. Like I was just at the lowest of low. And it was in 2016. And basically, like I had been hating my job for years, but I didn't know any different. I didn't know like that it sounds so silly now that like I had control over my life. I thought it was like you go to school, you get a job, you work there until you're really old and then you retire and you know, hopefully you can live a decent life like when you're 65 or something like that. So, you know, I was working and I just absolutely hated my job every day. I wasn't making a lot of money. Um, and I felt like the big thing was like I was doing everything that everybody taught me to do. I went to work. I never missed a day. I worked hard. I saved money. And then in 2016, I decided to make a move and I actually moved down to Austin where you are now. And I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job to save my life. And it was the same thing out of college. Once I got out of college, applied all over the place. Everybody wanted experience. I didn't have it because I was right out of school. And I just was met with failure after failure after failure. Eventually had to go with my dad and he had an architectural business. So he, you know, gave me a job because I was desperate. And so I was working there. That was the job I hated. Same thing. I'm like, all right, I got some money saved. Like I'm going to go forge my own path. Moved down to Austin. Same thing. I had no experience. I didn't want to be in the architectural field. Apply. And I was there for a handful of weeks and I had to come home with my tail between my legs. All the money I saved, and I think at that time, like my something happened with my car, and like all the money I saved in my bank account that took me like 5 years to save was wiped out in just a handful of weeks. And so that was the big point where I was like, I did everything I was supposed to do. And then like one accident happened and it cleaned out like 5 years. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So at that moment, I was like, something's wrong because I can't keep living like this. I'll never get ahead. Like I save and save and save, and then my car breaks and it's like dead. Or my refrigerator breaks one day, dead. Something happens in my house when I have one sooner or later, dead. Like I just saw everything as like, how could this wipe me out? You know, it's not supposed to be like that. So I came back, you know, I ended up going back to like work with my dad because again, I couldn't get a job or whatever. And tail between my legs and like everybody, I could see it all over their faces. They're like, I knew you'd be back. I knew it. Like I knew when you left, like you were never going to make it. And I got to a
Mm.
state of such depression that I contemplated suicide a lot. And I'm very open, like talking about that and always saying that because now I believe that life happens for us. It doesn't happen to us. And that was the greatest gift that I was ever given because it made me look for help. I started asking different questions. I started looking in different areas.
Mm.
And that's when I found Tony Robbins. And I was like, wow, like what in the world? Like this guy was talking about stuff that I had never heard before. I'm in control of my life. The reason I am where I am today is because of the decisions that I made. With new choices come new outcomes. And I was like, oh
Mm.
my God, I've never heard this stuff before. So I had
Yeah.
probably $1,000 in my bank account and he was doing a UPW in San Jose that November in 2016. And I think it was going to cost me like 800 and some dollars to with flight, hotel, and all that stuff. I had $1,000 left. And I'm like, and I bought the ticket because I was so desperate. I was like
Mhm.
literally at the end of, thought I was going to kill myself. And so I'm like, what is money anymore? I don't care. I don't have anymore. I've lost it all. So like, I just remember thinking if he could just say or teach me one thing that can change my life or that changes my thinking, then it's 100% worth it. And
Mm.
I went down there and I went to that UPW event, and I could honestly say that that changed the fabric of my life. Everything changed after that. And I came home, and that's when I started looking into starting my own business, taking control of my life, making new decisions, exploring failure, being okay with it, because there is no failure if you do not quit. If you make mistakes, you learn from
Mm.
mistakes and you get better. And I started down the path of entrepreneurship, knowing that I'm going to make this work and sooner or later it's going to break. And I know that I'm a limitless potential being, and I'm going to go after that. And I did, and I found Amazon. And, even going through that, it was
Yeah.
extremely tough for me. But now here I am, on the other side of that, like, living a life that I only thought like existed in my dreams. But it came to, I had to absolutely break on every single level of my life to finally like want to change and to
Yeah.
seek a life that was always destined for me, but I was just too content. I was too comfortable to see it at the time, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's honestly like the biggest scam of modern society is like the system, the blueprint, right? Go to college, get a job, get the degree, like pay off your student debt as you
Yeah.
go through your career, climb the corporate ladder. It's great. Like, I don't want to talk negatively on anything,
Yeah.
but the scary part is it's just so comfortable. And what
Yeah.
happens is you get in that routine, you get in like everything is predictable, everything's expected. It's like I know
Yeah.
how much I'm going to be making next year. I know how much I'm going to be making next month. I know what I'm going to do next month. Like everything
Yeah.
is so predictable. And then one thing breaks. The car shuts
Yep.
down. The wife calls and something goes wrong. And then it's like, and then everything just falls apart. And it's like, wait a second, it's almost an illusion of safety. It's like, it's so comfortable. It's so predictable that we forget that that's not really how life works. And
Yeah.
it's
And
like,
you're
oh,
not
wait a second,
prepared.
this.
You're not prepared. And that was the problem because, and then
Yes.
it's easy to gloss over that car broke, like you said, and wipes you out. Cause then you kind of get out of it and you're still working. And then like sooner or later, the brain is funny, right? Cause then it like,
Mhm.
you forget that that horrible time happened
Yes.
and you're back into the comfort and you're like, oh,
Yes.
everything is fine. And yeah, it's just that loop of like,
Mhm.
yeah, and that's where I lived for a long time in that comfort zone, and I had no reason to get out of it until like everything had to fall apart, like the whole bottom had to come out, and I'm glad it did. Like I said, that was a gift for me because if not, I just would have been like, ah, that stinks, but back in the comfort. Oh, that kind of stunk, but back in the comfort. I'm glad I experienced that massive pain, or else, yeah, I probably would have just continued to do what I was doing.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, you go through this period of realizing that you need to pursue uncomfortable things and you're now actively pursuing new things. Um, I'm super curious how you now approach discomfort and growth, right? Because I think complacency is part of the human condition. We get comfortable in something and then we don't change. So now you're leveling up. And every time I interact with you, Joey, you're just winning at a whole new level. And I've never seen you slow down. And so what's your relationship with growth now? How do you keep yourself from getting back into that state of complacency?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said earlier, like your relationship with like pain or discomfort, I seek it. And so that is something that may be like super jarring to some people or different, but I seek that uncomfortability, like, or I seek that, um, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow sort of feeling. And I think it's because I associated so much pain to being comfortable that when I'm comfortable, I feel like my skin starts crawling. There's like a
Mm.
problem. You know what I mean? Because I know that like the more you learn, the more you earn, and that personal growth is the only way to really achieve like the life that I know I want to live and become the type of person that I want to be. That's the big thing is like I want to make
Mm.
sure that I'm constantly becoming the person that I want to be. For example, like I was making probably $28,000 a year with my dad, and then I started my Amazon business. That started going good. I obviously quit my jobs, and then I got a job opportunity to help my mentor to actually do like sales and high ticket closing calls. So helping him onboard other students, like, and I was like, yeah, I would love. That was like my first taste of helping people. So I was able to
Mm,
share my story and onboard them into the course and help them into the course. And I started making like 20 grand a month doing that with him. And once
yes.
I got to that point where I was like consistently making 20K a month, most people would be like, this is awesome. This is a great job. I quit. And the reason I quit is because I'm like, I've conquered this. I've done everything I
Yes.
could do with this. And if I stay here, I'm going to get into that same comfort zone. And so
Yes.
I quit and I left and I decided to go learn a brand new skill and build a new business and do
Mm,
all the things that I'm doing now, and so I continuously jump off the cliff. And once I get into the water and you realize there's no rocks and everything is good and that was fun, I find the next cliff and I jump. And that's really important for me now because I just know that what I did before got me all the things that I had and I was super miserable. And so now I choose a life of being uncomfortable and going through. And when I say pain, it's not actual pain, it's just like growing pains of learning new things. But I know that, yeah, it stinks now, but this is going to make me into a man, into the person, into a business owner that is going to like raise my income, raise my relationships with my
mm.
friends, my wife, my kids. Like it's just going to enhance me, but that pain of learning stinks right now. So I look for those things because I think they're really important and I'm just in reckless pursuit of becoming the next version of myself, you know. So,
Yeah. I think that a lot of people in today's society would say that that's actually unhealthy and that it could be toxic to pursue discomfort and the unknown and uncertainty and take risk. Um, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's accurate? Do you feel like it's a toxic thing, or do you disagree?
so I agree with you that most people would say that. And they would say that, yeah, that's like, it's toxic, it's not healthy, your mental
Mm,
health and all that stuff. And I just basically say, like, everyone gets to choose the life that they live. And I think that's the beautiful part of it. And now that I have 100% control over my life, I could choose to be comfortable and do absolutely nothing or work jobs that I really enjoy or never really pursue learning new skills or anything like that. I can do that. And that's would be
mm,
completely fine. I just choose now to put myself in those situations because that's the way I want to live my life. And I enjoy the rewards on the other side of that. And also looking back and being like, wow, I just climbed that mountain. I didn't think I was going to make it, but I did it. And that was really
yes.
cool. So
Yes.
I would say, like, yeah, completely fine if some people want to live the other way or live like not or do what I do, don't do what I do. That's completely fine. But when you get on the other side of freedom and you actually have it and you realize you're in control of everything in your life, then that's just a choice I make every day. And I'm happy with it because, like I said, it's not the government or it's not other people putting this on me or me in this place. I'm just doing it to
Yeah.
myself because I want to, you know, always
100%.
a
Yeah, it's like
choice.
nobody sells you the discomfort. It's like that's something you're choosing to do. It's like, you know what? This is who I want to be. This is what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do.
Yeah. And it's the life I want to live. I think it's
Yes.
adventurous. Like I am
Mm,
excited doing it, and like there's
mm,
days when I'm like so upset and like, God, and I can't get this thing. And it's like, but that is my competitive nature coming out because like,
mm.
and that's like the chase. And I love that. And then it grounds me because I'm like, man, I used to dream about being where I am right now. This was the dream 5 years ago,
Yes.
and so I'm super grateful. But at the same time, I'm like, but I love that feeling. Like the first time I made it with Amazon and I quit my job and like that was the first win I had and I just got addicted to that ever since because I'm like, wow, what else can I do? It was super fun. So
That's my one of my mentors, Craig Ballantyne, always says, we used to pray for days like this.
yeah,
It's like these are the days we prayed for,
yeah,
which is
absolutely.
so huge.
Because
So
it could be
would you
worse. It
say,
could be like it could be man, like I thought I was getting a bonus this month and I didn't. Or I thought I was going to get
it's
that
true.
raise and my boss didn't give it to me and it could be that,
Yes.
And so
No
I
thanks.
would rather go through pain and suffering or whatever you want to call it that I'm putting on
Hmm.
myself versus
Hmm.
that I have no control over and somebody's putting on me and I'm stressed out about it now because I have no control over it. right?
Yes.
So that's the difference, I guess.
I think a lot of people miss that point of like it may be, quote unquote risky to pursue your own thing and to start your own business, but the reality is when you run your own business, when you have your own offer, you control that.
Yeah.
Like you control the outcome of how much money you make. You control whether or not you get sales. Like if I have a record month or a record low month, it's because of the decisions that I made. It's because of the
Yes.
choices that I made. And so if
Yes.
I like, and it's one of those things where now actually like I control my destiny and it's in my hands. And it's like,
Yes.
so if the market falls apart, okay, well, how can I adjust? How can I like take feedback of that instead of being reliant on some CEO or someone else to go make
Yes.
decisions for me and control my
Absolutely.
destiny?
And I love
Um,
that everybody should have that on their shoulders. If you win, it's on you. If you lose, it's on you. I love that
yes.
because there's a lot of people today, right now, that are working 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week. They're
Mm-hmm.
model employees. They're making, they're winning employee
Mm-hmm.
of the month every single
Yes.
month. And it's not reflecting in their paycheck and it's not reflecting in promotions. And it's like you're doing the work that's required to win, but you're not winning. And it's because of
Yes.
somebody else, And so I would want that. Or in my job, dude, we had a really slow, like couple years, maybe 2 years or so. And I saw a few of my friends that I worked with in my 9 to 5 get laid off. Grown men, 50, 60 years old, grown men crying. And it was like they woke up in the morning, they put their shoes on, they came to work and they were happy as heck and everything was good. And in a sentence, we are laying you off in a sentence from some other guy that they, maybe know or don't know, and
Yep.
it changed their entire life. Not because they didn't work hard, not because of whatever, not because of anything else, but they lost because of someone else and they're not allowed to win because of someone else either. And so like
Mm.
when I saw those things, I'm like, there's no way I can't do this. I just can't do
Mm.
this.
No, it's interesting that, like I actually saw that with growing up, my dad went through a series of being unemployed where like he would
Mm,
get a job. So like when we were young, my dad had a job for like 25 years, a career.
mhm,
And then I was 2 years old, my sister was 4 years old, and we ended up moving places. And so my dad had to get a new job. And then I watched him get a job and work there for a year and a half, and then he would get laid off. This is during the 2008 financial crisis, and he's in real estate, so of course it's like there's no surprise he's getting laid off over and over.
mhm.
And it was terrifying. It was like, wait a
Yeah.
second, my dad has no control over if he's making money or not. And then it's like, and that affects the whole family. Like there was times where we would have to sell our car just to be
Mhm.
able to survive or to pay for school and to pay for food. And it's like, I don't want to live in a situation. Also, the sun is setting, so now all the lighting's changed. I'm like, oh no, I should have definitely set up a better set. Um, oh well, we're gonna roll with
Looks
it. Good
awesome.
audio, good audio at least. Um, but I was like, wait a second, like my dad has done everything. Like he's a hard worker, he works
Yeah.
good hours, he takes care of his people, he cares about what he does, he cares about the outcome of his work. Like he's a well-intentioned and good-meaning guy.
Yeah.
And then he's having to sell our car because he
Mhm.
can't pay for groceries, or my mom's having to double down on her hours because we need to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is actually, I think, higher risk to be in a situation where you don't have control over how much you make. It's
Yeah.
like some dude in some boardroom decided that my dad was not necessary for the success of the company. And that put our whole family in a situation. It's like, so to your point of like pursuing discomfort and pursuing things that are within your control, it's like what I keep on seeing is like, it's actually riskier not to. It's riskier to put yourself in a position where some other guy decides how much you're worth to them.
Yeah, it's like a ticking time bomb, because you
Yes.
just don't know when that's going to happen. And like I said, it's like to me, I have to make it like really crazy for myself so that like I associate pain to that or like so I never go back to it because it's like
Mm,
it's just words. It was words. Some
yes.
guy or woman somewhere just spoke words. We should get rid of this division like words. And that sentence that took him a breath and 5 seconds to speak changes everything for somebody. And like I can't stand that. I can't even stand the
Mm,
thought of that. That would be able to affect a family. That would be able to affect someone's livelihood. Somebody that thought they were comfortable and life was great 1 second, and some guy spoke words out of their mouth, and now they are in complete and utter like chaos, and they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. Like
yes.
to me that's crazy. That's crazy to
Super
me, and I just
dangerous.
can't live. Yeah, I can't. I would never do that ever again. And that's, I guess, coming back to the decision thing. Like that is the decision I made prior to like hopping into my own business. I knew that I would rather live in a box on the street than ever have to work a 9 to 5 ever again. That is, and people may
Wow.
laugh, but I swear to God that that is an actual decision I came to. And that's why I guess I was able to go through a lot of the stuff I went through in order to become successful, because it's like, well, I'm not going back that way. So the only way to go is through, you know?
Yep. Yeah, that is actually no longer an option. You just eliminate
Yeah.
it out of the, and this is something that I don't think we talk about enough. And I do want to come back to being in control and harnessing control. But something that I noticed, which is not talked about, is like you made the decision to quit your job and to go to this Tony Robbins event with your last $800,
Mhm.
and then you decide to get into Amazon FBA. Did you make six figures as soon as you joined FBA, as soon as
Oh
you
no.
started doing Amazon FBA?
No, no, no. I failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and failed. And so like it took me over, long story short, over a 3 year period of me starting. So like I'm going to do
Mm.
Amazon. The next 3 years, I lost over $20,000 in failed products, which was three
It's-
different failed products. I invested in two different Amazon coaching programs that led
mm.
to those failures and that helped, like, even got me
Wow.
banned from selling on Amazon. And I had to go get a second job. So I'd work 8 to 5 every day with my dad and doing that. And then from 6:30 till 2 in the morning or later, I would go to my second job and mop floors and be a bar back and a bartender
Wow.
at a casino close by. And I did that for 2.5 years just to try to make my money back, to try to save to do Amazon again. And so that 3 year period, I lost everything 3 times. I got banned. I failed. I failed. I failed again. And then I finally met my mentor, Tim. And that is when everything changed. And that's when my
Mm.
fourth product after that, basically within my 4th year of trying, that fourth product that he showed me how to do it, that one took off. In 11 months, I quit my job. The next year I scaled to 7 figures, and the rest is
Wow.
history. But yeah, a lot of bad before
Yes.
before that, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how it works, man. And what I find so beautiful is like we talk about like the pit of despair, right? It's like we get into something and we have all of this optimism, and then we
Yep.
come to find out that reality isn't as good. Grass is always greener on the side that we water. It's like, oh, this sucks. And then sooner or later you achieve that core competency and it's exponential from there.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like you hit the rock bottom moment, and then you find hope, which is that peak of optimism, and then you actually have to go through the work, and that's where most
Yeah.
people quit. And so most
Yep.
people are just stuck in the cycle of hitting rock bottom, making a hopeful decision, and then quitting on whatever it is when it gets hard, and then hitting rock bottom again. And it's
Yeah.
just this vicious doom loop. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, and I just wanted to highlight that, while we're talking about your story, that you didn't go to this Tony Robbins event, find your mentor Tim, and then immediately start making millions of dollars.
Yeah. No.
No, it
No. The
wasn't.
one thing that changed, what you do get right away is the mindset, is the vision, right? So I knew right after Tony Robbins, I'm going to be a millionaire one day. Period. I knew it there. I had 100 some dollars in my bank account. And I knew it then. The second I got out of there on day 4 and I was getting ready to fly home, that's when I knew it. That's what you get right away. But then you have to go through the period, and Dean Graziosi calls it, your success tax. And you have to pay it, whether it's with your time. It's not always money. You don't have to always have to lose money. That's what just happened to me in my story. Because, and again, another valuable lesson that I learned, the mentors that I was paying to teach me weren't
Yes.
actually doing the thing I wanted to do. They just had what I wanted to have. So they were driving the Lamborghinis. They had the big houses. They had the
Mm-hmm.
money, but they weren't Amazon sellers. So I was trying to learn the thing I wanted
Yes.
from somebody that didn't do the thing. The difference with Tim was he was a 8 figure Amazon seller and still is. And so I was learning how to do the thing from someone who does the thing. That was the
Imagine
big
that.
switch that I had to make. Yeah, I was trying to learn from people that didn't actually do the thing. They just had what I wanted to have. And that's the disconnect. So that was a lesson I learned because I had never invested in mentors before. I'd never pursued self-education before. This was all brand new. So of course I was going to trip and fall, and like I was going to learn these
Mm.
valuable lessons. But yeah, like, but I was willing to go through that because like just going
Yes.
to that event and hearing like failure is inevitable. Sorry, like everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur or wants to achieve anything great, you're going to fail. If you've ever learned how to ride a bike, the first time you pick it up and get on it without training wheels, I guarantee you didn't just get on it and you rode your bike and you've been a great bike rider ever since. You got on it, you pedaled, you went a little bit and you fell. And then you got
Mm,
back up and you tried again and you went a little bit and you fell. And then you tried
yes.
again, right? And you kept doing that until, this is the word that I want everybody to hear and everybody to burn into their brain, until you were able to ride without falling. I was going to do Amazon and launch products until I figured it out. Right.
Mm,
I want to lose weight. So I'm going to continue to diet until I lose the weight. I'm going to make YouTube videos until I get something viral. If you do
mm,
things until, then you
yes.
cannot fail. And so I was just in the pursuit of that until. I was going to do it
Mm,
until, and I did whatever it takes in order to get on the other side of that. And I feel like with those two things, you literally cannot fail no matter how
no,
long
you
it
can't
takes,
lose.
you can't, you just can't. I worked 10 years with my dad and I'm like, okay, if I could do something I hate for 10 years, I could take 3 or 4 to completely change the fabric of my life.
Yes.
And so I was willing and ready to sacrifice that. And now I've been doing it successfully for 5 years. So I'm past even the struggle, the
Yes.
3, 4 years that I struggled. I'm already a year like past like doubling that. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah, super
Which is
important.
huge. It's a game changer. I think the two things that really stand out that I want to highlight for everybody listening is that falling down on the bicycle is actually what empowers you to be able to bike successfully. You have to
Yes.
get that feedback. And so it's like the failure is just the feedback of what not to do. And so suddenly you learn like, oh, when I'm biking, I shouldn't lean over really hard. Or, oh, when I'm biking, I shouldn't just stop moving, right? It's like you learn these lessons because you get the feedback. It's like when you launched your first product and you lose $5,000, $10,000, it's like, oh shit, I should, be aware and do these things differently.
Yes.
Or it's like, oh, I invested in a mentor that doesn't do any of the actual actions that I'm trying to learn. Oh, wait a second, maybe I should pursue someone who actually does the actions. Um, and I think
Yes.
this is the two keys is like, okay, the failure is just the feedback. And then the other thing I think is very dangerous today, and I see a lot of my peers doing this, the 20-year-olds with the Lamborghini that are living in Dubai with all of
Hmm.
the OnlyFans girls. I think as a society, especially like the social media society, we've started to idolize and worship the outcome, not the
Yeah.
action. And so it's
Yes.
like we start, we're looking at people for what they have, not what they do. And I think that's really dangerous because then we're just totally uh, gleaning over how did they actually get there, right? It's like, and it's no longer about what are the actions, what are the inputs. It's only what's the outcome. And it's like, oh, this guy scammed people and took advantage of people and actually contributed negatively to the world, but he drives a Ferrari. So I want to be just like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
Exactly.
that's so, so dangerous. Um,
Absolutely. And I think it's
so,
because a lot of people now care about what other people think. So they want the living in Dubai with all the OnlyFans girls because they think other people will think they're cool. It's not even that
mhm,
they want that. They just think that, well, then they'll get love, they'll be accepted, they'll get praise.
yes,
So it comes back to like an emotional something or other that they really want versus that
yes,
actual outcome. And so I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think that that is like the wrong way to look at it. And that's also why a lot of people never get that result because
yeah.
they're pursuing all of the wrong things that they don't even want in the first place. Their why isn't even strong enough. And that's why they end up quitting because it's like, they want to get this thing, but it's for all the wrong reasons and all the wrong drivers. And it's not strong enough to take them through the falling off the bike. It's like,
Mm,
I wanted to go straight to Cancun, but you're not
yeah.
going to get there, right? They can't get past those 1 or 2 hiccups.
So looking back on your own journey and getting through all of these different failures and these different learning points throughout your journey from being trapped in a situation that you could not control and feeling like a victim to it, to deciding that you were in control, to actually achieving real world success externally and not just internally in your mind, um, what would you say shifted from looking around and trying to just replicate someone else's outcomes and saying, well, he has the Ferrari, I want the Ferrari, I'm going to give him all my money. What do you think shifted in going from that to just focusing on what you can control and becoming a stronger character and doing the things that actually led to your success?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that like, taking a good hard look, and it's probably the hardest part, is when you fall and you fail and it's like really bad. So like I was making $28,000 a year and I lost 20 grand. So like
Mm,
when it's really bad and like things look like they're never going to work, it's hard looking at, okay, like Kobe Bryant would always say, like, I guess right after a loss or right after losing the finals, like he would watch the game tape almost immediately.
mm,
And it's like, because you got to look at it. And a lot of people put that off, and they
yes.
wouldn't watch it, or they know, okay, that's in the past. I'm not ever looking at that. To sit down and look at those failures and be like, okay, what can I learn from this? Even though like,
Mm,
you're depressed, you're hopeless, you don't know what's going to happen next. You're in that really like, tough state of mind, to look at those failures and be like, okay, why did this happen? Like, what are the lessons that I can learn from this? And if I did something different, would the outcome have been different? And so doing a lot of that and really sitting down and like trying to reverse engineer the failure, and why it was so bad, definitely helped me learn a ton of lessons and how to do things the right way as far as like Amazon.
mm,
And then sooner, like once you start, then you start spotting people that like speak the same language. Because number one, like when I found Tim, I saw him show his sales on his phone. I'm like, wow, there it is right there. Proof you're a seller. Nobody else does that. Like
yes.
this guy's killing the game. That's number one, is
Mm,
actual proof. And then two was, that when they start to talk about things, you're understanding what they're saying, because I like went through all those failures and I'm like, all right, that made, because I did this and that.
yes.
And that's, so it like aligns, and so that's how I ultimately reached the point where I failed enough to where I learned enough, and then I was able to walk in the right direction and start figuring things out. But I think the hardest part is like, looking at those big mistakes. Most people, they make one big mistake and they're like, never again. That's it. I knew this was stupid. Absolutely not.
Mm,
Not for me. Maybe it's for somebody else, not for me. But taking a minute to be human like that and have that, little girl
yeah.
moment, it's fine. And then going back and looking at it and be like, okay, how can I do better? That's
Yes.
that's the sauce.
I think that's also, you're talking about like, why are we seeing a society that's so obsessed with the approval or validation of other people and so obsessed with the outcome and not the actions and the character
Yeah.
it takes to get there? And I think a lot of it is it's so easy to avoid the reflection, right? It's like
Yeah.
introspection and reflection is the hardest part. It's like you make a mistake, like the girl you fall in love with isn't in love with you, or you put all of your time, energy, and money into a business that doesn't work. It's like that stings to go
Yeah.
back and look at that. You get on a sales call and they don't close. It's like
Yeah.
that stings to go watch that footage and go, damn, I could have done 20 different things differently than I did. And you see them.
Absolutely.
And it's so easy to say, well, I'll just scroll on Instagram instead. I'll just watch a
Absolutely.
YouTube video. It's
Yeah.
so easy to avoid that. So
Super
I
easy
think
to
you're
quit,
really,
man. Yeah,
really
it's easy,
highlighting that.
easy, easy to quit. Couldn't agree more.
Easy to quit. Easy to quit. Joey, on top of like having all of these incredible expertise and skill sets within Amazon and teaching other people and the passion you have, what are some of the character traits, the hard skills here, right? The intangibles? Because I think that there's, a lot of this where, anybody could sign up and start learning Amazon FBA or start getting into drop shipping or any other
Yeah.
type of online business model or starting their own company. But I do think that there's also things that make you different in terms of your character. And I want to speak into a bit of that and not just the mechanicals of what you do.
Sure, sure, man. Yeah. So, man, it's always hard to like think about yourself, you know what I mean? And like, what are the things I think, and this kind of goes back to Alex Hormozy as well. Like, and
Mm,
one of his great quotes is like, the self-confidence is not shouting affirmations in the mirror. It's having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are.
yes.
And my stack is probably that I just don't quit. Like, I would have to be absolutely fully incapacitated to the point where like I was probably going to die to
Mm,
actually like stop pursuing the thing that I wanted to pursue. And so, and I have a stack of proof of that, because like throughout multiple losses and all the different things that I went through over like a 4-year period, I just kept going. I got a second job. I just kept doing what was required to like get back on the horse and ride a little bit until I fell off again. And
yes.
so I think that's probably number one, is just when and maybe the second thing is I'm able to make a decision and just stick to that, like, and know that, okay, this is the path I'm taking, and that's it. There is no going back, right? There's no plan B anymore, like the burn the boats, right? It's a great story.
Mm,
Like they went to take the island, and I think it was Cortez or somebody burned all the boats and they're like, we're either going to die
Yes.
here or we're going to take the island because I just burned the boats. Our only way out of here is gone. So it's forward or
Yep.
nothing. And so I'm able to do that. And it's really cool as a bumper sticker, but hard to do in real life as far as like,
Yes.
actually pursuing that. So first is decision making and then sticking to that decision. And then second is just like, I'm just not going to quit until I figure this out. I know it works. And this is the path that I want to choose to get me to where my dream state is, as far as having
Mm.
freedom or more money or whatever you want, and just not quitting at that. Forever. So like if it takes, and meaning like if it takes
Yep.
90 days, amazing. If it takes 900 days, amazing. If it takes 9,000 days, amazing. Like I'll
Yes.
just do something until, and maybe
Mm.
it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, but it just doesn't, like I always say, it doesn't matter how long it takes. It just matters that it works, because it took me
Mm.
4 years. Like no one else, you could start today from absolute zero. Like no one else is going to go through the path that I went through to learn Amazon. It's not going to take anybody 4 years to do it. But
Yep.
like my life is 10,000 times different than it was when I was working my 9 to 5 job. So like, I don't care that it took me 4 years because it still worked. Maybe it took me longer than
Mhm.
most people, but it worked. And
You
so I'm
got it
good.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that like being able to make a decision and stick to it, never quitting, and then doing things until, doesn't matter how long it takes, just as long as it works, and just follow it to the end.
Mm. No, I love that. I think that's super poignant advice.
Yeah.
And it's something that in this, outcome obsessed society, it's really key to hear. Um, these things of like the confidence does not come until you actually receive the outcome, right? It's like you commit to something and then you are brave enough to actually show up and do the work, and then sooner or later you actually get the outcome, and then that's when you start to actually be confident that I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, do you feel like you've always had those skill sets of I'm extremely decisive, I'm willing
Yeah.
to stick with it, and I'm just going to see it through until? And if not, how did you actually build those skill sets and those character traits?
Yeah. So prior to Tony Robbins, absolutely not. I was a quitter.
Hmm.
I was not confident in myself whatsoever. I thought I was the stupidest person on the planet. I did not believe in myself. I didn't think I was
Yeah.
worthy of anything more than I was getting. I actually thought I was worthy of less. And so I was like happy with what I was
Yes.
getting. And those were all limiting beliefs that I had in my mind that during that 4 day period, and this isn't a plug for Tony Robbins or anything like that, but I do suggest like every single person in the world should go to at least one because I think it is life changing.
Hmm.
Um, but like before that event, and those are the things that we worked on, as far as like he would say there's weeds in the garden and we're going to pull out
Yes.
the weeds, and those were the limiting beliefs that I had that were dictating the outcomes that I was getting my entire life, till I was
Hmm.
30 years old. There's like, you're such a young guy, you're so successful. I'm like, God, I wish I knew this at 20. Like that would be
Yeah.
amazing, but yeah, I didn't have any of those skills. And I do believe now, like after hearing people say entrepreneurship is 80% mindset, 20% tactics, and I'm like,
True.
no, it's not, to now actually like experiencing it and being an entrepreneur, it's 100% true. It is
Yes.
100% true. Because even the skills that we're talking about now, it comes down to one thing, and it's your mindset. It's your
Yes.
mindset. So yeah, I was not that person, but I built myself into that person by, like, again, looking at putting those things under the lens. Like, here's what I did before. I was undecisive. I quit everything. I didn't think I was smart, to now like, what's just the polar opposite of that? I have to be
Yes.
decisive now. I have to believe in myself now. I am smart because I believe in myself and I know that I
You
can do
actually.
things. I'm a competent
Hmm.
human. So if you just look at all the stuff that you're thinking to yourself and it's got you this outcome, just do the complete opposite. That's literally what I did
Yes.
with like books. So I used to go out every single weekend and spend like 50 to $100 every weekend with my friends and drink
Yes.
without fail. And so when I came back from Tony Robbins, I spent the same 50 to $100 every single weekend, but I stopped buying beers and I started buying books. So every single one of these could have been a shot. Every single one of these could have been a beer, but now they're books and they are things that changed my life. So I just
Yep.
literally started doing the complete opposite of what I was doing before. And so,
That's huge.
that helped me to, yeah, to build a lot of those things. Cause I absolutely was not, I guess I always was this person, right? Because everybody right now sitting, listening to this podcast, They have exactly what it takes to be
Yes.
phenomenally successful. Right now, you have all the tools. But I wasn't able to bring that out. I wasn't able to believe in myself to the point or have the mindset to actually bring out that potential that was always in there, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's I think I have this belief that every single person alive has greatness within them, and they're hiding it, and it gnaws at
Yes.
us. It eats a lot. It eats away at our soul that we are not who we want to be. And I believe every single person alive has that in them, and then it's just they don't know how to express it.
Yes.
Something that I really want to highlight in your story is that these things, I think it's really easy to convince yourself that you are not capable of doing the things that you want to do, or not capable of being the person that you want to be, and that someone else just got lucky, or that they have something different than you. And what I really hear as the takeaway in your story and this experience is, no, you can change your life. You can change your
Yes.
mind. And, I can share my own personal testimony that is the same. Of I was a drug addict. I'm a
Yeah.
substance abuser at 12 years old. I'm failing school. I barely graduated 8th grade. And I'm like, wait a second, like, why am I creating this reality? And then I changed who I was. The same thing. I started doing different things. There's this quote, you are what you think about most of the time.
Yes.
Right. And so it's like, okay, well, I started changing the way I saw myself, the way I thought about myself, the actions I was taking on a daily basis. And suddenly my reality started to change. And now
Yes.
people come to me and they're like, how did you do it? Or you just got so lucky. And it's like,
Yes.
no, no, no. Like you change the input, you change the output. And so I,
Yeah.
I just want to highlight that of like, and I didn't go to a Tony Robbins event. Like I
Yeah.
love the plug
Amazing,
for Tony
man.
Robbins, but
So
there's,
proud of you, dude. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you,
thank
dude.
you.
That is honestly the most amazing thing, because I needed that to like guide me. You know what I mean? And like for you to just
Yeah.
have the awareness and to make that choice without any of those external factors and stuff, dude, that's amazing.
Mm.
That's amazing.
Well,
And
I just had a different rock bottom, right? It's like it's the
yeah,
same story with different actors. It's
I
like,
got excited by that though, man. Like I was super excited that it's like
Mhm.
I can learn to be anything I want to be. So like
Yes.
that excited me, like because before I thought like this is my path, life is what it is. Like you hear this from your parents all the time. Life is tough. That's just the cards you were dealt. And like those are the things I heard all my life, and so I just thought this was it. And once I heard that, like, wait, I could learn other stuff. I could be a completely different person. I don't
Yeah.
have to be like or live this life I was living, and you could learn it. To me, that was super exciting. Super,
Yeah.
super, super exciting.
I mean, no disrespect to the family, and same thing in my family. It's like, what a scam. Like
Yeah.
actually, I'm actually the dealer. I can deal new cards any day that I want.
Oh yeah,
Like,
dude, I love that. I say that all the time. And right, our families love us and they're just teaching us what they were
yes,
taught. But at some
yes.
point, like we now can teach our kids, and like what I will do with my
Hmm.
daughter is we can now teach them new things and new behaviors, like based on the things that we
Yes,
learned. And
yes.
I always say that, like you say, you're the dealer, because that's one of the things like I would always hear is like, well, hey, that's just the cards, that you were dealt. And I'm like, I tell everybody now, like, I had no idea that those cards are blank and I could draw on them whatever I want to draw on them. And I
Oh,
decide to
I
draw
love that.
aces on every single one of them. Like you could
Yep.
decide, are you putting ones and twos on your cards, or are you putting aces and kings and queens on your cards?
Yep.
And that's so funny that you say that, because I'm like, yes, that I love that quote. Yeah.
Dude, that is so fire. I love that you do that. But and it's just so funny to me of like the reality is it's like all roads lead to Rome, right? And it's like
Yes.
it all just starts with choosing that you can choose differently.
Yep.
And then it's like once you've made that choice, then you actually have to like, and I've asked this a couple times throughout this podcast, but I just want to highlight going through this journey and going to like investing your last $800 into Tony Robbins and losing 20K on Amazon FBA and keep going and continuing to go. Was that easy to do in the moment?
No, no. I mean,
No. It
you can't
and
imagine the despair. And I tell everybody, I'm like, some people would keep going after the first failure. 100% of people would have quit after the second, and absolutely nobody would have made it to the third. I made
mm,
it to the fourth. Like,
mm,
you know what I mean? 3 years
yeah.
of having no proof whatsoever that this works at all. I did not make a cent, Harrison, like not
Mm,
even a cent from Amazon in 3 years. And so like I didn't even have any proof that like this is gonna work. But I just I think maybe that's even like the real law of attraction is like, I just believed in the future that I saw for myself so much. It was so vivid. And I just believed in the process so much because I'm like, all right, Amazon is a trillion-dollar business. Like, I know that they're doing something right. This has to be able to work if I just figure it out, you know, and
Mm,
to go through that and to, but I always tell like my students now, it's like that path was always meant for me, just me, not anybody else, because eventually I didn't know it back then, but I was going to teach people how to do this. And I needed to go through all of those things so that I can teach now through a different experience. I can help
hmm.
someone now through a way different perspective. I
Yeah.
went through the worst possible scenario that anybody could ever like go through, and I still made it out and made it work. And so if I can do all those things, then you can make this work easily. And
Yes.
so the way that I can teach someone now, that I can help someone now, or the way that they just connect with me or my story should hopefully all I ever want to do is just give somebody motivation to be like, wow, if that guy did it, I know I could do it, you know? And so
Yes.
I was always going to go through that path. And it was for exactly to be right where I am right now today, you know?
Yes. And this is, I think it's like, I'm a Christian man, I'm a man of faith. And I truly believe it's like God is preparing you to win the battle. It just might not
Absolutely.
feel like it in the moment. Right. It's like
Absolutely.
you go through all of this and it's like maybe the three failures and the $20,000 in debt over 2 years, 3 years is
Yeah.
exactly the reason you have such a high client success rate.
Yeah.
Because that's the foundation. It's like, imagine if instead of all of that on your first product, on your first attempt, you became a multimillionaire. And then
Yeah.
when you taught it, you don't really care, you know, and you
Yeah.
didn't go through the thing. I think it would
Yeah.
be completely different situation. This is you know, I'm very, very grateful that to be at my age, I've had the success that I've had. And I'm also extremely wary of it because
Mm.
I'm very aware of like I didn't have to go through 5 years of bankruptcy to get here. And so it's like, you know, it's there's almost
Interesting
this fear
perspective.
of like, okay, you know, there's a foundation that I get to be very present to. And so something that I've had to remind myself of in seeing success at such a young age is I need to continue to build foundations and don't even
Mm.
worry about the, you know, like, oh, I made this much or oh, my company's doing this much in revenue. Why don't I discard that from my brain because I'm fortunate enough to have that and not worry about it?
Mhm.
And can I just focus on in a very stoic way, am I being the person that I want to be? You know, it's like I have the opportunity in the business right now where I could sleep in until 10 a.m. I could drink every day of the week. You know, I could
Mhm.
spend all of my money and flex on people and do all these things. And is that truly the person that I want to be?
Yes.
Like, I don't have to journal every day. I don't have to create
Yes.
content every day. And I'm fortunate enough to have that. And if I don't do those things, then I'm not building the character that will actually continue to sustain the results.
Yeah. I
It's
love
like,
that, man.
you
Absolutely.
know,
I
it's
love that. You're always chasing the guy like in the mirror, right? And or
mhm,
at least trying, that's the only person's approval that you should be seeking because like you said, like, and I tell everybody too, they're like, how's entrepreneurship? I'm like, it's like college. You can
mm,
go to class or you don't have to. Like you could do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
but if you don't like do the things like then you're not going to get the outcomes, you know what I mean? So
mhm,
like you have all of that
yes,
control, but it's also easy to be like, I'll just take today off and like do all those things. But
yeah,
having that like freedom and space, it almost makes you more like focused because you know, like, okay, I could just not do anything. Or like you said, I could just go drink every day of the week. And then like you see everything you worked for or everything you
yes,
built will just go away. And that's like the
yes,
worst pain ever, you know. But I love looking at myself at the end of the day and like you said, man in the mirror type of thing. And like, okay, did I do everything that I needed to do today, or at least got close to become the person that I want to be in the future, or to like get the result? Did I leave it all on the field, or did I leave a bunch in the tank? You know, and the
yes,
cool thing is, I always say it's like a new 24-second shot clock, like basketball players. Like
mm,
you could have a bad day, and some days I go to bed, and I'm like, man, I could have did more, and it's okay because the next day is a brand new shot clock, and it's like, okay, I'll just do it then today. And as long as you
yes,
have more good days than those bad days, then it's like that's how you ultimately I found that you like become that you build those character traits, you know what I mean? And
mm,
knowing
mm,
for yourself, not for anybody else, but it's like I did what I said I was going to do. I
yes,
kept the promises I made to myself, you know. So I love that you talked about that because I think that
yeah.
that's a really really good point.
Super important. And this is like, you know, a buddy to even break it down even deeper than 24-second shot clocks. I have a buddy who says a few good seconds makes a good minute. A few
Mm,
good minutes makes a good hour. A few good hours makes a good day. A few good days make a good week. A few good weeks make a good month. A few good
yes.
months make a good year. And a few good years makes a good life. And so it's
Yes.
like,
I love that.
you can just break this down. It's like, I'm sure, Joey, you have this massive vision for your life. And it's like, you are still a shadow of the man that you are choosing to become. You have these
Yeah.
big, hairy goals and this massive, vivid vision. And then can you just break it down into what's the one thing I need to do in this moment? It's like,
Yeah.
should I really be scrolling on my YouTube right now, or can I take a few good seconds to change my mindset and have a good day?
Yes.
So I just love your approach to these behaviors and the way that you're saying, oh, let me just pursue discomfort. Let me just pursue growth, because I know even if the outcome takes 10 years or I never see the outcome, even if I never succeed, if I
Yeah.
just pursue the right behaviors and I pursue the right mechanics, I have a higher probability of success than not.
Yeah.
Like,
And I feel like you will get there eventually. Like,
yes.
and it's just, I just feel like you can't do all the right things and take all the right steps. And then like, oh man, yeah, it's been 20 years and I still never got that thing. It's just
Yeah.
impossible. Like, even if you walk a marathon, like you'll still get to the finish line,
Yes.
you know? So like,
Yeah.
you can't not walk all the steps and keep going and like never get to the end, you know?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, it doesn't matter how you do the 26.2 miles. If you do 26.2 miles, you did a marathon.
You did it.
It's like,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
you could have crawled, you could have walked, you could have ran, you could have
Yeah.
flown there. You just flew a marathon, but it's
Yeah.
still, yeah,
Dude. And it's
yeah.
crazy. Like, now that I have a baby, to see, like, in our natural states, we are not quitters. Like, we are more
Hmm.
determined and driven than ever, because like I've watched her like pick herself up off the ground and rock until she crawled. And no matter how many times she slipped and continued to fall, like on her belly or whatever, she just
Hmm.
kept doing it until she got to do what she wanted to do. And sooner or later, she's going to start grabbing things and standing up, and she's going to fall and fall
Hmm.
and fall and fall until she walks, because she
Hmm.
doesn't know any different. She doesn't know that, oh, well, I tried 2 times and I just don't think I'm a walker. You know, like she just doesn't know any better. So that's our most natural and pure state. And
Yes.
so it's like, that's who we're supposed to be. We just try things and you will eventually achieve. We're like these learners, we're growers, we're,
Hmm.
innovators, we're creators. And so to
Yes.
see that, like, sometimes I watch her and I'm just like, she has no idea that she's failing right now, or that this word exists, or that
No.
like you've tried 6 times, so why do 7? She doesn't have any idea. It's just natural in her brain. I'm going to keep doing this thing until I do what I want. And I
Hmm.
think it's the coolest thing in the
Hmm.
entire world. Because I'm like, even some grown adults, it's like, you are going to tell me that you were more determined and tenacious as an infant than you are as a 30-something-year-old man or woman, And it's a crazy perspective to look through. But I remember I'm like laughing when I'm watching her do that, because I'm like, she doesn't. And when I say doesn't know any better, maybe she doesn't know any worse.
Yeah. Yes.
Society
Yes.
didn't
Any worse? Yes.
pollute all that,
Mm-hmm.
society and the
Mm-hmm.
teaching and all that stuff didn't put stuff in her brain yet to where she just
Yes.
doesn't know any worse. You know what I mean?
This is I love that you're speaking into this, man. I think that there's lessons from fatherhood, right? That you can't get any other way. It's like, you have to be a
Yeah.
father to learn them. Like the price of, as you said, like the tax of success. And I think that lesson, it's like the tax of learning that lesson is being a father. And then you recognize, wait a second, our natural state is the pursuit of achievement. It's
Yeah.
like we are naturally persistent. Kanye West said this thing, and Kanye West always says the most out of pocket random things, but he's like, you have a toddler, and the toddler just wants to explore and create and do new things, and the
Yeah.
toddler gets up on a coffee table, and some adult yells at the toddler, get off the coffee table, you can't be up there. And then
Mm.
those accumulate, and then it's like,
Yeah.
how many thousands of get off the coffee tables and you can't be on the coffee table are we told throughout our infancy and as we grow up? And then suddenly as adults, like talking about the pursuit of approval and thinking about the judgment of other people, it's just
Yeah.
the culmination of all these people telling us you can't climb on the coffee table. And now we're just terrified of, well, what if I climb on the coffee table and someone's going to yell at me? And it's
Yeah.
like, and then we just, if we go back to our natural state, it's like, Joey, respectfully, I don't care if you don't want me on the coffee table. I'm going to climb on the coffee table. It's
Yes.
like,
Yes.
that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely, man. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And I think that's a powerful, that's something, powerful. Because
Mm.
it is. I just feel like it's beaten out of us over time, to where then we fear. We actually
Yes.
fear the fall down, or we fear the being yelled at, or we fear the failure. When I
Yes.
think it's so funny because I think now, and like I see people like when you're driving, dude, or just like look when you're walking down Austin, like downtown Austin, see how many people drive like this. They don't even look, they're not even looking at the road. They're
Yeah.
not scared of that. Something that they're driving a car 30 to plus miles an hour, not even looking at the road, could possibly kill somebody and themselves, and they're not scared whatsoever. But they're scared to start the business. They're
Yeah.
scared to learn the new thing. You're scared to quit your job and pursue your passion of whatever. You go out on Friday nights and you have a couple beers and you drive home. You could kill somebody, you could kill yourself. Like bad things can actually happen. And you're
Yeah.
not
You're not
scared
scared of that.
whatsoever. There's no fear there. But you're
Yes.
scared to invest in a mentor. You're
Yeah.
scared to try Amazon. You're scared to do
Yes.
content with somebody that's done it 1,000 times. You're scared to like take that step towards improving your life. That's what you're scared of. To me,
Yes.
that's like, that's sometimes I'm just
Dude.
like, wow, our perspective is so off because it's
Yes.
like, we're not scared of the things that we should actually be scared of. And instead, we're scared of things that will just improve our life that are so much easier than we think they are.
And it's so awesome that you bring this up. It's like I think we place so much attachment on like, well, what if I go up to the girl in the bar and she says no? Oh, well, what if I decide to get sober and my friends make fun of me? What if I
Yeah.
decide to spend my money on books instead of beers and my friends
Mhm.
judge me? What if I decide to, yeah, and we're so fearful of those judgments of like, well, what if that girl doesn't want to date me? What if that guy
Yeah.
doesn't approve of the way I dress? What if this person doesn't, whatever it is? And I love how you're highlighting. It's like, but we're making all these decisions that could actually like have real consequences.
Yes.
And it's like the upside of texting while driving is negligible. It's minimal to none, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you might get a response to someone 10 minutes sooner
Right.
versus, oh, I could kill someone or myself. But then
Right.
the upside of like, I'm going to go ask that girl at the bar on a date. The upside is I can marry this woman and have kids with her and enjoy her the rest of my life. The downside
Yes.
is she might say, I have a boyfriend.
Yeah, dude,
It's
literally
like,
I'm my wife. That is how it happened. So like my friend, his name is Jay, dude. It's the craziest thing that you say that. And I literally have adopted this now as like a mental model for how I run my life. And this is well before the Tony Robbins thing, but literally that is why I am married to my wife. I thought I was like, oh my God, dude, like I think she's so beautiful. Like I want to talk to her, or whatever. And he would always be like, dude, like go talk to her.
go
And I'm like,
talk to
no,
her.
I can't do that. Whatever. I literally remember him saying that. And he looked me in the eyes and he goes, what happens if she says no? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe I feel bad or something like that. He's
Yeah.
like, nothing. Your whole life up to this moment was one way without her. And if she says no, it's going to be, your life path doesn't change at all. You're still going to go home and do the same things you were doing. You didn't have her before. You don't have her now. Literally zero in your life changes if she says no.
Yes.
But if she says yes, then everything can change. And I'm just like, wow, that's such an amazing perspective, you know? And so because he told me that, I literally went and asked her out on a date, and today we're married and we have a baby.
Oh
And
my
it was
gosh.
because, and I always say, I'm like, dude, it's because of you that that I'm married to my wife.
I
But
love
I just
that.
thought that was such a crazy perspective. And now, like, my mental model for that is I call it the pursuit. Like, you always got to be in the pursuit of yes, because yeses change your life, no's do absolutely nothing. If
Yeah.
you could go up to 10 people at a bar and 9 of them say no, they don't want to go on a date with you, and one of them says yes, everything changes. No's
Yes.
don't change your life. You didn't have it before. If they say no, you don't have it after. It's only your perspective of like you missing out on something you could have. But that's, again, just mental. It's just fake. It's all fake.
Yeah.
But then if
Yeah.
something says yes, an actionable thing happens in your life to where like something occurs, you know? So I
Yes.
thought that was an awesome perspective, and goes back to your point of everything that you said, like absolutely nailed it.
Joey, I think you are absolutely an earned genius. I think you've put in the work to see the success that you've had. And the nuggets, dude, like so many silver BBs or golden BBs in this podcast. I don't want to, or in this conversation, I don't want to call it a podcast. And but you've dropped so much gold and so much value and nuggets that you've actually had to extract. Like you've mined these lessons. These didn't come by like you just being inheritance, right? None of this was inherited. You've actually been able to develop all these things, which is just so magical and phenomenal to witness. So thank you for being willing to share these. The last question I have for you, that just to make it, to bring it home on a personal note, is if you could share some of these lessons that were not even if you could, what are the lessons that you've learned that you are most excited to pass on to your daughter?
Oh man, that's a great question.
Without going for a couple of years, because I know this is
Yeah,
something we
yeah,
could go a long time
yeah. That's a
on.
great question. Some of the best lessons is that you can you can learn anything that you want to learn and become anybody that you want to become. And that would be lesson number one, that like anything is learnable. You could be any type of person that you want to do. You could achieve anything you want to achieve. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort, and you have to never quit. Like
Yeah.
the one thing that I want her to get from me, or if she says at my eulogy one day, I just want her to say, my dad never quit. Daddy never quit, ever. And that is probably the biggest thing that I want her to know, because with that, everything and anything is possible. It really is.
Wow, that is so exceptional. Joey, you are such a titan of a man, and thank you so much for joining
Thank you.
us. If people want to connect with you and they want to continue to just get all of this genius of yours poured into their brain, what's the best way to get in contact with you? How can people get involved and reach out to you?
For sure. Probably best place is my Instagram. It's at joey.consagra, Consagra. That's probably where I hang out the most. So
Awesome. At joey.consagra on Instagram. I'll make sure to keep it in the bio or description of this podcast as well. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
dude, I just appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to have this conversation. It was great catching up with you. I love talking with you, and you're a super. One day I'm going to have a podcast and I'm going to want to interview you, because you are an incredibly impressive person. And your story needs to be told as well. So I just appreciate you having me on, man, and taking the time to ask me a couple questions and to have a little conversation. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much, Joey. Again, it's been an honor to have you on the BackTracks podcast, where we look at the backtracks of people's lives. So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh.